Joining us right now on the program, let's have a conversation about right to repair and other topics that are impacting farmers' bottom lines and looking throughout the ag equipment industry and more. Joining us right now, he is with Thunderstruck Ag. Jeremy Matuszewski is with us. Jeremy, good to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope all is well.
Yeah, no, things are great. It's kind of been a crazy couple months with some travels all around the world, visiting with farmers. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Well, and I know it's taken us a little while to line this up with all of your travels, but really excited to make this happen. And a lot of avenues we can go down here today. But I think let's start with the issue of right to repair. And there's a lot of links here between farmers' right to repair and things like national security, is food security, and so much more. And just even protecting farmers' bottom lines. I think that's at the heart of a lot of this right to repair issue. And it's something that you and I were saying this before we jumped on. It's kind of fallen to the back burner amid some of the other issues in agriculture right now, hasn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, and I think you nailed it. It's really the right to repair comes down to protecting the farmer's bottom line and giving them the ability to make the decision on whether they feel like they can fix it themselves or whether they need some help with it. And honestly, with the economy and everything else that's going on in the world right now, in agriculture, you're right, it's fallen behind, but right now it all comes down to the farmer's bottom line and keeping them profitable so that they can stay in business so we all can keep eating.
Well, and you think about this too, with the way the ag economy is, a perfect tie-in here is, farmers, there's so much talk right now about their bottom line and the ag economy, a lot of concern in farm country. And I think that this really speaks to the heart of the right to repair issue, Jeremy, because farmers might be able to fix something on their own much faster and much cheaper than they would if they have to call out an expert or something of that case. I mean, there's a lot of things here that could really save the farmer's bottom line, Jeremy.
Well, and margins are so tight for farmers right now. We were just up in South Dakota this week talking to farmers with $3.30 corn, and $8.80 beans, and there's just so little margin there. And now if there's something that breaks down and you don't have the ability to fix it yourself, and you have to call in a dealership, that costs you money. And then if you were lucky, the 30 cents a bushel of corn you were going to make, that gets eaten up. And so I think that you're 100% right, Jesse. I think that it all comes down to giving the farmers the ability to make the choice on whether they can fix it themselves or whether they have to call in somebody instead of just saying you have to call in somebody. And that's where that's where this issue really boils down to, is giving the farmers the choice to giving them the choice.
And that's I want to make sure we emphasize that. It's something you made the point to me as well before we went on air, that it's not a knock on dealers or anything of that nature. It's just simply about giving farmers the choice, right?
Oh, the dealers are crucial in agriculture because they have the parts, they have the knowledge, they have the expertise, and there are a lot of times where your dealer is the most important phone number in your phone is to your dealer. But I think what we're hearing from farmers is they want to have the option to use that number or to say, you know what, I can do this myself. We'll go run into town, we'll pick up what we need and we'll do it ourselves. And that's what it comes down to. Dealers are crucial, but the farmer needs to have the choice of whether they call or whether they don't call.
And I think with the whole right to repair issue and thinking about the national security aspect, I know you've been traveling globally quite a bit as well here recently. I know you just got back from Brazil. You've talked with folks in Ukraine. I mean, thinking about some of the different things happening around the world and some of the changes and innovations globally with equipment and more, and, maybe parts coming in from other countries outside the US, things like that. I mean, that's a whole nother aspect of this conversation as well, Jeremy.
And there's no way we can dive into all that, but you're 100% right. I mean, there's so much stuff happening on a global perspective outside of agriculture. But I was at AgriShow, which is one of the largest shows in the world in Brazil back in late April, and there were so many drone companies from a very large Asian country, and one of the things that as I talk to some farmers with an interpreter and just some different people, is like, is there a concern that these drones maybe are sending information back, or and I don't think we know that, but I think that you start to wonder with everything that's going on in the world, is some of these companies that are bringing in stuff or requiring data, right? Like that's
Mhm.
where it gets really scary, is when the farmers don't get to control their data anymore and it gets shared. What does that mean for national security, and what does that mean for our food production?
Jeremy, and that's a great thing to think about here as well, is the data aspect of this. But I know just the innovations in general, I think, is another reason why farmers need to have the choice. And I know Thunderstruck Ag, you guys have a lot of different things that can kind of help farmers. And when it comes to the sustainability aspect or improving yield or efficiency, you name it, it's something I've heard a lot from folks in the equipment industry this year, retrofitting or finding, third party pieces to add to equipment that you already have on the farm. There's a lot of options that are available out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, we talked about this a little bit before we started, but my whole company's been built on farmer ingenuity, right? Farmer invents a spoked gauge wheel to help reduce downtime, right? Because the window starts closing during planting season, and you know, if you can't get out there, then you can't plant within your window. That's tough. Or farmer from Saskatchewan invents a paddle time to help eliminate cutter bar loss, or how do you check for loss? And so I think that there's so many different ways that farmers are looking to be more profitable, whether that is a yield bump, or whether that is being more efficient, or cutting production costs. All of those things come back to the bottom line. And with margins being so tight right now, farmers are really looking for every little advantage, and it's all about ROI. How can they justify their expense with what they're going to see on the farm?
And, at the end of the day, a lot of producers really maybe pinching pennies, this fall with the way the commodity prices are that you mentioned and more. But there is still room to look at technological investment, advancements, things of that nature. It just, again, it comes down to that ROI on your operation. And as we know, Jeremy, everyone's operation is going to be unique and slightly different.
100%. I mean, we talked to farmers in South Dakota that are 800 acres. I just got back from a farm in Brazil that was 200,000 hectares, which is 440,000 acres. But the thing that is consistent across farms of all sizes is a very small change can make a really big difference. And I'll give you an example. We know in soybeans, they're $8.80 right now. It's not a lot, but we know in soybeans it's cutter bar loss. That is where we see loss during harvest. Is at least a bushel of it happens at the cutter bar, and that's why guys are doing air reels. They're doing all these different things. So there's a product invented by a farmer out of Saskatchewan that'll save a farmer a bushel of beans per acre in cutter bar loss. So if you figure that at $8, right? We won't even do 880. We'll do $8 to outfit your headers. Call it 2,400 bucks. You need 300 acres of beans just to break even. But that'll last 10, 12, 14 years. But if you're growing 3,000 acres of beans, I mean, that's 24 grand. So in either scenario, there's a pretty big payback, but yeah, it's just little things that farmers are looking for to give them an advantage on their farm.
And I think as we get into final thoughts here, Jeremy, I mean, this is a fun conversation and one we could probably have for an hour, and we'll have to do it again. But it just farmers, it all kind of ties together with the right to repair issue, having the options, looking at new pieces of equipment that could add to their operation, all of it kind of together at the end of the day. I think farmers, especially right now, you know, try to look at the positives and look at some of the things that are available to them that could help them save every single dollar that they can where they need to on their operation. I think that's part of the moral of the story here, right?
100%. Whether it's investing into new equipment, whether it is having the right to repair, at the end of the day, the farmers are the backbone. And it doesn't matter what country you're in, farmers are the backbone. Whether you're in the Ukraine, whether you're in Brazil, whether you're in Canada, the United States, the farmers have to have the ability to make their own decisions on their farms to help them be profitable, because nobody knows how to pencil it out like a farmer on his own farm. And so if we start telling them what they have to do and take that away from them, we're going to continue to lose farmers. And then where's the food coming from? So, Jesse, so cool to be with you. I really appreciate the opportunity. I will come back whenever, because I think we could talk for probably who knows how long. But man,
Yeah.
so much fun.
No, we'll definitely have you back. And real quick, if folks want to learn more about Thunderstruck Ag, I know online is a great way to start to find more info, right, Jeremy?
That's right. We're thunderstruckag.com. You can find us at a farm show pretty much anywhere around the world. But next week, if you are in going to Farm Progress, stop by and see us. We'd love to chat.
Always appreciate fun conversations like this one, and we will definitely do it again soon. Jeremy Machusetsky with Thunderstruck Ag. Thanks for joining us here on AOA. We appreciate the time.
Thanks again, Jesse. I really appreciate it.